Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Dakota Daydreams. I'm Dakota, and this week we'll be going to the Bedside Garden, episode 14. And this week we've hit 100 subscribers, so I would like to say thank you. First and foremost, to you watching the video, and then to everyone hosting challenges and inspiring people to not only start gardening, but start a channel, start sharing, and find all of the support in this community. And just thank everybody. Enjoy the video. It seems like it is time for time. It is coming up beautifully around the fig sticks and marigold, and it's starting to have a couple come up around the onions, and I think there's even another onion starting to come up. And so far, the mango melon's still on its own over here, but it does seem to like the soil, so that's good. And this little Ailsae onion is still holding on very firmly to its seed hat. I've tried to pull it off and I thought I recorded that, but I guess I forgot to. And I didn't want to try again because I didn't want to overstress it. But it just pulls it straight to standing up. And I don't want to pull it any harder than that because it finally started coming up. I'm not trying to get the smallest onion quite that way, you know? But we've already got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 time growing around the figs with the marigold. So that's a lot of time. Not really sure what I'm gonna do if it all grows, but we'll figure that out if we have a good problem like that. It would be a pleasant change from mysterious problems like Roselle seeds encasing themselves in some kind of nest of white. It looks like a spider web, honestly. It looks like a spider web, but it can't be because there isn't a spider, if that makes sense. And there's a spot of it starting on this watermelon seed too, so I think I'm just gonna toss all affected cups and start this over. Because maybe it's something that got onto those cups. I might have even forgotten to wipe down the roof part of the drawer of the table I'm storing them in when I got the table for the bedside garden. But Chard Solo has released another chard, and that little speck I have a circle around, I think that might be an actual Swiss chard seed that came out of, I think it's a dried berry. And this mango melon is almost ready to move into the hydroponics. I gotta keep a close eye on it to make sure that the root stays all the way in the water, but the leaves don't get too wet, but the seed also stays moist enough to come off of the leaves. It's a careful balance. And while I was balancing it, I accidentally bumped the dried out marigold and it snapped under the soil level and it snapped off of something that still had green in it down there. So even though it has broken off above ground, with how healthy some of the roots look on this, I think it may even come back later. Perhaps it even decided it was time to let the onions borrow the pot. But I think it's time to deep clean this hydroponics unit. It's been having issues for a little bit, and maybe it just needs some fresh water. Well, I'm glad I decided to do that because the water had started to turn orange in there. Very, very lightly, so I hadn't noticed. but I'm making sure to check each individual seed sponge while I put it back and lift up the foil to see if maybe there's a reason. There was. Oh boy, there was. There was a big ol' mama bug eating my flowers. Every gardener gets a pest of some sort. I'm gonna find some stuff to deal with mine. But now that everything's all clean, I had to empty out all of these cups because they were either completely gone from what was in them being eaten or mushy from having bites taken out of them. On the bright side, I was able to save the Roselle that just got moved over. And I started this Swiss chard with hot water on the sponge. I held it with tongs and just poured hot water over it because I used all of my hydrogen peroxide cleaning the system. And all of the seed cups left are viable and growing well. And I haven't forgotten about Slowpoke the spinach. I just moved it over to the soil because I wasn't sure if it was going to make it or not. But either way, it's going to do some work for the garden. And now that I have everything all cleaned up, and while I get some supplies together, it's time for Catalog of the Week. This week, it's Loki's Plants for Home and Garden. Now, the opening page for this one felt almost intuitive, which is probably because Loki's has been in business since 1892. So they open up with a greeting letter to the community about how they specialize in growing tropical plants that can be kept potted and their ways to order, in addition to a quick index about approximately what's where. They even include a legend on their description format so you know exactly which name is the Latin common and what all of those little symbols might mean. But I think Logie's takes their legend game a step further than most of the other catalogs, because they even have this little strip defining exactly what to expect for each pot size as well. The first of their plants that really caught my eye was this fireworks desert rose, because I've seen desert rose used as like a fragrance scent, but I don't think I've ever actually seen live plant desert roses. And they have several varieties available. I just think this one might be my favorite. And then I saw a strawberry tree, also known as a Jamaican cherry, but I'm not quite sure it's fully related to either plant family. It just resembles cherries when they're ripe. Maybe? I don't know, but it looks really cool. They also had yellow dragon fruit, which I've heard is one of the most full-flavored varieties, and it seems to be the only one they offered, but I might have missed another one. And then I saw coffee bean mocha, which is a variety of coffee from an area of Yemen called mocha, or the port was called Mocha, where it was exported in the early coffee trade, or something along those lines. So it's not that it actually tastes like chocolate, but the full and rich flavor of this variety is probably what inspired people to start adding chocolate to other coffee and making the drink that we know of as mocha now. Or at least that's my theory. They even have cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon, or the variety that's known as true cinnamon in the spice trade, which I think is super cool. I did not know you could grow that in a container, but allegedly they have had success with that. So that's something to consider in the future for sure. But possibly what I'm most excited about in this entire seed book is the cocoa tree. I'm a huge fan of chocolate, and the idea of potentially growing my own cocoa beans, even though I'd have to figure out how to ferment the beans to actually make the chocolate, it sounds like a lot of fun one day. But to make chocolate from scratch, you would need vanilla. They have that too. They even have black pepper, which has nothing to do with chocolate, but was close to the vanilla and also pretty cool because I don't think I've seen that in another catalog before. Logie's even has a dwarf banana called a paquito that the whole tree is only 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. That that's such a tiny little banana tree and it makes tiny little baby bananas. They even have a mulberry bush that's bred down to potted plant size, and an ostrich fern that's bred up to shade tree size, or Korean native BB trees that are massive pollinator magnets, apparently. It looks really cool too, like, I don't know, a giant bonsai tree. And these abutition red tigers, which, yeah, I see why they named them after tigers. They have a really nice striped marbled quality to them, and I might like them if I was a butterfly too. And then they have several gorgeous varieties of decorative hibiscus, but I don't know if these are also edible because I do notice that they are hybrid with something else. I'll have to do more research on that. And then this black bat flower. They also have a white bat flower, which has the same whiskery things. It's just a white orchid type flower. These things are wild looking. And then their order form is towards the back, but I almost missed it because I was distracted by these gorgeous orchids. Check this one out. It's called Rustic Spots. And to me, it kind of looks a bit like rust, but if rust was a pretty flower. And then right near the end is an orchid cactus named Unforgettable. And with a flower like that, it definitely earned that name. If you'd like to grab your own free copy of Logi's catalog, the link will be down below in my description. Now back to the garden. And while we were checking out the catalog, I got myself some supplies. Because you see, every gardener has a pest, but they make motels for mine. Now they can come in, be like, oh, the snacks are low. Let me check in and get a room and figure out it works by Hotel California logic. We're going to protect the plants. Now that I have some of those under the table the garden's on and behind every piece of furniture that can't be moved in my room, I'm gonna water these plants. And when I water the plants, I try to make sure I get enough water on the leaves that they have to kind of build their leaf strength to hold the water up so that as the plant grows, it has enough strength to hold itself up. And sometimes I'll notice that the little tiny new plants kind of fall over into the soil. And when that happens, I just make sure to rotate the pot they're in and make sure that their back is to the light source so that they're encouraged to stand themselves back up to track the light. And remembering to rotate the pots has become a lot more important and easier since the onions have come above ground because they grow very quickly and reach for the light source very intensely. So if they're laying over, just turn it around so that their back's to the light and they keep reaching, sort of like they would outside for sunrise and sunset. But it looks like this mango melon is about to throw a fit if I don't get it out of this cup of water. So I'm gonna try something different with the seed sponge this time. I'm gonna try leaving the foil off this time for two reasons. One, I don't think that these are getting enough light in this system with the foil on it. I think it's blocking it from the seedling as well as the sponge. And two, I heavily suspect they're too delicious to resist if there's anywhere to hide on them. So nowhere to hide on this one. And I'm not sure if we're allowed to do the single seed challenge twice at the same time, but if so, I'm thinking about adding the passion flower or maypop seeds because I don't have very many left. So regardless, I'm growing them the single seed challenge method because I'm gonna have to get experimental to get one of these to work. There's only about 4 or 5 left in the pack, and the last two kind of fuse together, so I'm gonna try to just do one. But I'm also restarting the orange tender sweet watermelon because I really want to try one, and the last seed kind of had that ickiness settle into the cup. So I'm going to try fresh cup and a little bit less water to see if maybe I was just having too much moisture and not enough humidity. And I also wanted to try something new that's kind of fast growing this week. So I picked one of the loose leaf blends. This one contains black seeded Simpson, red salad bowl, royal oak leaf, lalo rosa, and regular salad bowl. So 5 different kinds of lettuce. And I'll be happy if I get one of them to actually make a salad. The seeds are about the size of a grass seed, most of the ones in the picture being magnified by some water on top of them. I think the one down at the bottom is still dry. These things are super tiny. I have no idea how many there are. I do know that I appear to be up to 3 Ailsae onions, and the first one finally let go of its seed hat today. And it looks like this marigold is about to open up any day now. So far, so good on the hydroponics. The Swiss chard's still trying to figure out which way's up. The Roselle looks like it's recovering. And it looks like the leaves are opening up on that mango melon, which is a great sign. The marigold's even starting to open up, and I'm so excited about that color. The thyme and the onions are coming up really well, and I haven't forgotten about the mint. It just takes a minute to come up. And the mango melon in the soil already has a true leaf on. So it seems like mango melons definitely prefer soil, but maybe there will be one that likes hydroponics. Next time I might try the tiniest seed in the pack and see if that one likes hydroponics. I think the rest of them might be soil melons. But this marigold has survived every rookie mistake I could possibly think to throw at it. I've let it dry out, I've overwatered it, I dried it out and overwatered it in the same week once, and it's still blooming. And it's got this beautiful color that I honestly did not expect from the picture on the packet. So maybe that's because it's just starting to open and the mature color changes. I don't know. It's my first marigold bloom. And speaking of flowers and their stories, It's time for the Flowers Everlasting Spotlight for Flowers Everlasting 2025. My personal challenge to you to slow down, capture a picture in the story of a flower that's important to you. And I've been inviting every flower, herb flowers, vegetable flowers, any temporary flower. And we've got our first official submission this week. See, my partner heard me say any temporary flower and submitted this beautiful pot of chocolate roses. My partner can be found at Captain Scavic on Twitch, and these were homemade. They are chocolate roses with an orange infused chocolate and caramel ganache filling, and they were so delicious. And in addition to being sweet in flavor, I thought these flowers were a very, very sweet gift and way to engage with the challenge I'm doing, despite not being a gardener personally from my partner. So if y'all want to swing by their Twitch channel and show some support, I would really appreciate it. And this week for honorable mentions, Miss Dianna from Dee's Garden Adventures got her first nasturtium to bloom. And I said it right on my first try that time. Just has to be someone else growing it, I reckon. Links to any channels I've mentioned or challenges I'm participating in will be down below in the description. If you'd like to watch the garden grow from the very beginning, check out the Bedside Garden playlist. And if you'd like to see all of the challenges that I'm participating in and watching too, check out the Garden Challenge Rulebook. Until next time, thank you for dreaming with me, and take care of yourself and keep your heads in the clouds.